Good morning, and welcome to Lippy and Lean with Lana. Woo! Hopefully, everybody is going to have a rockin' week. It is summer. Not officially till I think June 21st, but it is summer, guys. This is my whatever channel, whatever I want to talk about, and not too many people know about it. I really don't advertise it, but if you're here, you're here. Lots to talk about. Okay, of course, this crazy fuck's here. Yeah. Bye bye. There she goes. There she glows. What an obsessed human. Girl, the bath water. I know it's addicting. What's up, Rose? My heart goes out to Rose. She's just a lovely, sweet thing. Hi, Rose. Um, Gosh. Good afternoon from where are we from there? The UK? Is that a UK flag? Is that a British flag? Oh wow, I got a random live. The random lives are the best lives. You got to do a lot of crazy shit to get blocked in this on this channel. I roll with no mods. It's rogue mods for life. Wales, yes. Um, but yeah, so welcome to Olivia and Lean. If you know about it, you know about it. If you don't, hey, one day you'll catch this gem and you'll laugh. So again, you got to do a lot of crazy shit to get blocked on this channel. Um, if my mods from my other channel pop in, good morning. Love you guys. Let's talk about it. So many things to talk about. First, yes, everybody, I do know that some crazy, thirsty human changed their name to Truth and Transparency. Well aware. They said to come in this morning and let me know about it. Sure, Laura, we're trying to make that happen for you. Not a problem. I mean, you do know it's against YouTube terms of service to impersonate somebody, right? Just thought I'd help you out there. Um, yeah. Dropped a lot of information this past weekend on my community pages. Also, if you are a member of my channel, Truth and Transparency, a lot of stuff in the members community pages as well. I'll be going over a lot of that this week. I know a lot of people want to talk about the audio that's out there. I personally want nothing to do with that. That any of the audio out there, I just don't. No one's really kind of, unless the neighbors want to come out, because that would be their audio. The neighbors that live next to the house. Unless a neighbor wants to come out, show their face on a screen, show me that they're playing it from, their device that recorded it. That's all I'm interested in. So if a neighbor wants to do that, I'll listen. But I'm good otherwise. So that's my thoughts on that. Um, Yep, it's been handled, Laura. So you don't have to explain yourself. People get blocked by accident all the time. All you gotta do is email. Let us know your account. We take a look at it. We see why we blocked it, because we can go back in the lives and see why. So if we deem that was an accident, we unblock you. It's really that simple. Just got a lot of things going on. On average, I get at least 100 emails a day. So on top of like my other stuff that I have to do. So I will definitely make sure that is looked at, Laura. But yeah, as far as that audio goes, like I said, I would want the neighbors to come forward. That's going to be their audio. And if they don't want to come forward with it, I'm good, because that's where it should come from. I'm well too familiar with how you can edit and make anything seem like anything. So unless the neighbors want to come forward, do it, because that's the only way that it would have gotten leaked, is out from the neighbors. But you're gonna have to show me that it was from the Ring camera of the neighbors. Otherwise, I'm good. What is up, Mod Squad? I knew she'd be dipping in. Moving on to a funny story is I don't know if you want to say it's a funny story, but I just want to know who has the time, who has all this free time on their hands to troll or to pretend to be people that they aren't. Like, you guys, I don't even have enough time as it is to like get my own shit, done. So I pray for those that just have all of this time on their hands and this is what they do with it. What a pathetic fuck. like holy shit. Like, call a spade a spade. But if you got all this type of time, I mean, wow, your life is just balling out of control. But what audio are you talking about? The audio that they're saying is from the King Road house, outside the house, where they're, all this crap is, yeah, exactly. Great question, though. What audio exactly? That's what I'd say. What audio? Um, so, about the 1122 King Road house, very interesting that a guy by the name of Scott Purkey would start what I believe is a shell company, an LLC that's called Small World Software LLC. And the Small World is not put together. It's actually separated. So it's two separate words, which is a big difference than like what GE bought back in 1999, 2000. But he tried to make it seem like that was the company. And I don't know if if you guys have been following along with other true crime cases where people have done this. Like, for example, the Murdaugh murders. He was making shell companies, making it seem like they were other companies when like they weren't. And it's like, what were you doing with those companies? What were you doing with these LLCs? And this LLC that he started up, he put the address of 1122 King, and he never changed it over all of these years, and it's still active today, this LLC. And people think it has to do with it that, oh, well, that's not, he doesn't live there anymore, he never owned it. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about a guy, okay, who had zero ties to the University of Idaho until his wife from Ecuador, okay, decided to go there. And they rent that house. It was actually, I think she rented it, and then he lived there too. But he put this LLC in that name, okay, or he put that address. Then I was able to come across, and a couple other people were able to find it as well that had emailed me. We found which I believe the three people that made up who was doing like this software, and they were building something, okay, because this girl Emily, this guy William who goes by Kenji, and this woman Maureen, it was like they all got out of college, and somehow Scott Purkey came across them in some capacity, and this Emily girl who was writing for a print magazine company, like, basically interviews herself, and she puts it out there that she and two others worked for this Small World Software LLC. And she refers to it as a long defunct, company. Well, it's been running for 24 years. I don't know what the hell it does other than hold trade I don't know if it was at cars. I don't know if they were selling people, but shit you not. Then if you go and look at my posts from the community pages that I have, then this Kenji guy says that he backed this app called Appaloose. And it's the same spelled word as the street that Scott Purkey and his wife Carolina Purkey would move to in Moscow, Appaloose Road. And you know how like when you have an app, APP, so it's like Appaloose. And it says its description is curious girls. Curious girls. Now, guys, there's way more to this than I believe that would be drug related. These are people that are traveling overseas to countries that, you know, are poverty. But when I saw this Appaloose that this dude was talking about, that he was backing, I went and like clicked on it, tried to see what Appaloose was. Okay. And I'm going to do a big reveal on my big channel about all of this, because what Mr. Gonsalves was saying the one day, what I believe, is when he was saying that if you know something, like the parent, if you were a parent and you had pertinent information that could help your kid get justice, and maybe it won't solve the case, but it would definitely help like other people, because stuff was being uncovered. And whatever he found, I think that he was like, hey, maybe this isn't about our kids' cases, but it's definitely something that's going on and it could help other people. And I think that this could possibly be one of those things where you happen to stumble along something. And this Curious Girls, it was spelled differently back in the day, like GRRLIS. And it's about designing your own like app, but it also includes hacking. But this guy, these people can design and make and code websites that are like, if I want to have a website where like, okay, Fight for a Family, everybody had their own login, everybody had their own password. This is what this guy can code and make, and it's like 100,000 person subscriber websites where you go in, type in your password, type in, you know, your login, and then boom, you're in some website. Well, where do you think all the kiddie porn stuff is, and how do you think that type of stuff is built? How do you think that all that, how does that even have an existence? Okay, I've always asked myself, like, how come this is not so easy to shut down, all this stuff that's going on with like people and their ridiculousness, which is people buying, you know, stuff like that online, people being in these groups, people, there is a world out there. And then when I saw that Scott Purkey was arrested, he was charged in 2016 for a 2014 alleged incident where a girl who was 16 came forward to tell that he inserted his penis in her vagina when she was 14. She came forward in 2016. The same time when she was alleging this in 2014, this Appaloosa was being, like, it was launching in June of 2014. That guy, Kenji, was putting it out there on the internet. That's the same time frame that Scott Purkey was accused between March of 2014 to June 2014 of, I mean, that's crazy. So all of this stuff, you can think it doesn't mean anything, and that's perfectly fine. But I want to know how people that had no ties to Idaho came to Idaho. And the only tie that I can find as of right now is that his wife from Ecuador went to the University of Idaho, and then she went to go work in Washington, and they, lived in Washington, and they started up these, I don't know if they were groups, these LLCs that had to do with housing assistance. Okay. Housing assistance. Oh, what's up, Miss Potts? Anyway. Oh, you found it? Thank you. Thank you. Needed that. Appreciate that. Again, this is real. Like, this stuff goes on. And there is something known as like a lifestyle. And these software developers, they know how to make everything that we're using today, technology wise. There's things that coders and webmasters, what they can do and what they can make. And that guy, Bob Lee, he was just stabbed, ends up dying. He was living a certain different lifestyle in San Francisco. That's where, this guy, Kenji, is living. He was a Cash App creator, one of the Cash App creators. This guy, Kenji, is working. I mean, the stuff that this guy's able to do, and that those two girls were able to do, and what they can make and build. And then it's just super weird that you can't find any connections other than sorry about that. We're back. Again, as far as I know, everything that I've checked out, as far as the Small World Software LLC, it is still good today. It's been going strong for 24 plus years. So, again, I'm on a field trip, so apologize. Um, Now, the other thing that these people can make, back when I did the Chris Watts case, people were having nanny cams back then. Just like you can call them nanny cams, you can call them kid cams for like their bedrooms when they're taking their naps and stuff like that. Well, people stopped. There used to be, you could just have your monitor, and then you had your two-way device, and that was it. So you had to carry on a little monitor screen. Then they started making it so that your phone could connect to this app and you could watch stuff off of your phone. Okay. Well, then it was like called Summer Infant. Then they decided, okay, holy shit, we can't do that anymore because people were hacking into these kid cams, okay, and using them and streaming them to websites where people would then, watch your kid. Okay. So a lot of these companies that were doing these kid cams stopped that whole app feature that you could do stuff from your phone because it was accessible to be hacked and things like that. Anyways, we're dealing with he's always talking about, Mr. Gonzalez was always talking about this techie world, tech. That's what all those people were doing, like all this little group. They're all tech. And Scott Purkey has a plane. Okay. He has a plane. He's in the coffee business. All right. Just a lot of things that, point to, and then once you got in trouble for what he got in trouble for, then you go ahead and you take a look at his life. And then other things just stick out. But I wanted to find the connection between Scott Purkey and these three individuals, how they came across each other, which would be Kenji, Emily, and Maureen. And Emily and Kenji would go on to get married, and I don't know if it's a front, because I can't find them, they have these pictures of them getting married, but there's no connection. It's like they don't live together. There's no, it's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting. But it's hard to listen to. It's really, really hard to listen to. I don't tell people where I'm at. Privilege, get out of here. Bye. Bye, Priv. Priv. You're not welcome, Priv. Privy poo. I'm the only one that can block people here. So I'm just going to use the block button like a mother. But this is hard to listen to. It's hard to talk about. It's really hard to talk about. This is one of the reasons I don't like to do kids' cases, because of stuff like this. How could a parent ever hurt their child? How could anybody hurt somebody else's child? Like, why are we hurting innocent little kids? Like, what the fuck's wrong? That's just, God, that makes me sick. So this type of stuff is hard to listen to. But reading in court paperwork from the Supreme Court ruling on certain things, which was his plea deal, the Scott Purkey plea deal. And people out there thinking it's not the same Scott Purkey. Scott Purkey has lived all over. He most certainly, he lives right now in Massachusetts. He's running some Buddhist facility. He's big into that. I don't know. Dalai Lama, and go check it out. But he's still friends and everything with his child and his wife on, Facebook. Nobody blocked each other. Yeah, but it's just when I read it, I read it with my own eyes to see that there was a 14-year-old this happened to, and that 2 years later is when this happened in 2016 when the charges came out. Why did it take 2 years? Was there blackmailing going on? Was there anything to do with extortion? Whatever. But it did come forward, and he took a plea deal, and then he wanted to, take back his plea deal, because he said the only reason he did a plea deal is because he was being threatened with, 20 years in prison. And that's the only reason he pled to this deal. And I'm sorry, but I would never did something like that if I did not. That is crazy. But that's why he fought his own plea deal. He didn't, it was a mess. But stuff like that, how does that even get hush hush? Why are we plea like that? What the fuck is wrong with our country that we're making plea deals like that? Because 9 times out of 10, that wouldn't have been the first time. It's not going to be the last. Okay. Scott Purkey is 71 years old. Do you understand that? Go ahead and subtract the time. He would have been 62 years old, and a 14-year-old. Are you fucking kidding? That's problematic. That's sick. 62, 14. And all the stuff that I see, if you guys are familiar with the Jerry Sandusky case with the Penn State football team, Jerry had that nonprofit, what was it, the Extra Mile or the Fifth Mile or whatever the hell it was called, but it was a nonprofit for less fortunate kids, and it was just basically he was just funneling his perversions through this. And I saw a lot of similarities when I was researching Scott Purkey and his little shell companies, and it's sick. And And people take advantage of when I noticed that what they were all into, like help, like the massages, massage therapists, helping the housing assistants. What are you doing? Helping women and children get away from their battered, and then here you just go to abuse them in some other way. It's just crazy. And but why would we ever make plea deals with people like this? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think somebody like that's something psychologically wrong. I would love to know how old Scott Purkey was, because his wife, he's 71, she's 57. Okay, it's a bit of a difference, especially if Scott Purkey, if she was, when she went to the University of Idaho, like how does she end up going to the University of Idaho? Why did she go to the University of Idaho? Did Scott Purkey send her there because they met in New York? She went to JFK High School. So they met in New York. He's from New York, Scott Purkey, born and raised in New York, right? His family. And why in the world would she go to Idaho, the University of Idaho? Why would she go to school there? Go across the country like that to go to the University of Idaho. And then they stay out that area. They're in, think about how old you are when you're a senior. Did she start school though when she was 18, 19? Did she take some time off? But she did have her kid by the time she was 26, because her kid is 31 right now. So their kid. And when you go and you put it all together on a timeline and you look at someone's life and like where they go and where they travel to and what they bring back with them, like the coffee business, bringing, like, where are you getting where's the best coffee from? Isn't it Colombia? Colombia has the best coffee. From New York. So, but yeah, so I'm curious as to why they went to Idaho, University of Idaho, why she went there. How old was she when she met Scott Purkey? When did they get married? Like I said, his wife is from Ecuador. Did he bring her over here? There's many forms of like arranged marriages. There's just a lot of shit out there. But when you hear that a guy, okay, pled to sticking his penis in a 14-year-old's vagina while he was 62 years old, I'm sorry, but that gives me the right to dig into your background and to figure out who the hell you were and what your ties were to that home where 4 people were brutally murdered, as well as the other people who live there. Okay. I know everybody wants to talk about that house had all this software. No, that house didn't have that type of software. That's not it's not that GE business. He created Small World Software LLC. That is not the same thing as Small World, that is combined to like one word. It's not the same. But think about it. He created this LLC at the same time that GE was buying out Small World Software from a group of people from England. This is what people do to make shell companies. So if I was to like try to seem like a big shot or try to like get people all confused, oh yeah, small world software, go ahead, look it up, that's what we do. And he's not lying when he says it. But when you Google it, it's the other shit's gonna come up, not none of his shit, because he doesn't do anything like that with it. Who is he to the 4? Who knows who he is to the 4? You have to figure out what type of what they were really doing with their like businesses. These businesses are these LLCs, and you can name your LLC whatever you want. You need to figure out what the LLC does. What is the LLC? Like, what's the business? I could have an LLC called Atlanta LLC. Okay, great, awesome. But what does it do? Oh, I own a restaurant, or Atlanta LLC, doing business as, things like that. And not always do people know what other people are into. So, um, like, for example, I'll just use the Jerry Sandusky case. Do I think that Joe Pod knew what was going on? No, I don't think he knew what was going on until he tried to do something about it, and the university shut that shit down. Like, no, no one's saying anything. And then you got DAs and prosecutors coming up missing and shit like that when they started looking into some stuff. But the university shut off. The university always made the decisions. Is always going to make the decisions. Bob Huggins was arrested for DUI back when I was in college. All right, why would you fire him over that? The university made that call. The president of the university made that call to fire Bob Huggins, who's bringing in multi-millions of dollars each year to that university, gives all money to all types of shit. But the president made that call. But I mean, it's not okay, it just, that's the president of the university is making those decisions to bring it to a board to decide. A president can shut that down. There's a lot that a president can do. So, but whatever's going on in Idaho is way deeper, in my opinion, than just the situation. And why did the University of Idaho tell everybody that they were safe? This was an isolated, targeted attack. Okay, everybody's safe. You guys, you can't say that and then arrest somebody like Brian Kohlberger and say that this guy was a serial killer in the making. Well, then who the fuck was safe? Yes, but that's not the same. What Rose wrote, the acquisition of Small World increases G's presence as a provider of high. Yeah, but that's not the same thing as Small World, what Scott Purkey is involved with. He had nothing to do with that. That's not the same company. They did not buy his company. That's not what happened at all. But I would like to know where Scott Purkey got his money. Scott Purkey owns a plane. You don't just own planes and you're broke ass bitch. I'm sorry, where are you getting your money? Think about, I don't know if you guys have been looking into what was going on before COVID hit. Before COVID hit in 2015 and 2016, okay, around the same time that Scott Purkey, 2014, 15, and 16, around the same time that all that started coming out about him with doing that, a lot of these sororities and police, stuff was coming out about the sororities being like an escort service. Sorority girls being, funneled in to be like an escort service. Think about what was starting to become big then. Using, social media platforms to, wow, we don't need to go to strip clubs anymore. We can just have OnlyFans. We can make money doing X, Y, and Z on the internet. People doing porn. We don't have to do porn sites. We can do X, Y, Z, which would be using like the OnlyFans, and I'm just speaking of that because a lot of people know about it. So in the way that it would come across is you don't realize that it's sex trafficking. You don't realize that what something could be called that you're doing. And to me, if you look at Jerry Epstein's situation, you need a female, in my opinion, that can lure other females into doing stuff that, oh my God, I'm making so much money just doing this. It's like, all I got to do is go, make these like videos, just whatever the talk may be. But it's going to be a female that's going to be helping and facilitating things like Maxine or whatever the hell her name is with Jerry Epstein type shit. That's the type of stuff, if you want to talk about why would anybody, you don't realize what you're doing stuff and who you're doing stuff for if it's presented to you in such a way that it's dude, everybody has OnlyFans, right? And then you can just like accept like whoever like your fans are, and they give you money and you do certain things or you send them, but it's all, whatever the hell it may be, okay? But think about you doing that like on a website that's not called OnlyFans, but it's like OnlyFans, okay? And who can make these websites? Oh, the people that Scott Purkey, was associated with, and still to this day I believe is associated with, because I went and checked all these people's resumes out, and not one of them talked about how they built and what they did for small world software. Like, why would that not be talked about? Like, if you designed something, you designed it. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you put that on your resume? In fact, nobody has it anywhere on their resume. Also, during that time period in 1999 to 2001, it's like they didn't even work. So what were they doing during that time period? Oh, they were doing this, the small world, And my question is when would anybody realize? So I'm trying to get to talk to somebody that would be like, maybe these people would talk to me and they'd be like, no, you're totally wrong. This is what it was for. This is how we were asked to do that. So I am going to give these people a chance to, hey, I was working on this. I'm wondering, can you talk about this small world software LLC that you wrote in a paper or in a magazine print that you basically built? You built this. So what was it used for? When you turn it over to somebody that when you build something, did then like he go and get a different webmaster to create, okay, now we're going to start putting this content on it. We're going to do this. Like, what did you build for this guy? What did he want you to build? Why was it, how could you say that it was defunct or it's been long defunct, but that LLC is still going strong 24 years later? If it's defunct, why would you continue to have been paid for your business? Like, why would you continue to pay that? 1999 was like the birth of the internet. Yeah, it was. And yeah, same with like cell phones, the birth of cell phones. So, but in order to, when people want to say, Lana, what do you think happened? If Brian, I have no idea. I wasn't there. But in order to know like what happened, you have to know what was going on. So I want to know, why would Kaylee have moved out early? That doesn't make any sense to me. That makes zero sense to me that she'd move out early. You would go all the way until Christmas break, because like these are like, you'd want to be living with Matt, and that was the plan. So when did she decide that she was going to go to Austin early for a couple months before her friend Jordan went down there? When did all of this start happening with these decisions? When do these decisions start being, made? Um, so it's you have to pinpoint these on a map of this stuff. Who did you come across? All these people it's victimology. Okay. It's victimology. Out of the 4 victims, who did people know? How did they come across them? What started changing in their life? When you look at someone like Brian and they want to say that Brian did this, okay, and that he was in the making of becoming a serial killer. All right. Well, that's everything opposite what Moscow was telling us. Let's just put that out there. But why that house? Okay. Why not, um, any other house out there? Why would you uh, pick this house with this much traffic? Okay. And not think that you're going to get caught because there's cameras all over. And that's what victimology is all about. It's finding out who these people were. And what, look at all what they've done to gather information, okay, on all the victims and the surviving roommates, all these bank records, all the social media. Usually you build a case and then you arrest somebody because you have this strong case against them. That's normally what happens. In this case, okay, they arrest Brian, and yet then they go and they're still doing all of this stuff to get search warrants to, um, after the fact of arresting him, to the point of just recently you guys have seen these documents that have been released. I want to know what Ann Taylor, she is adamant of getting information on an SA that happened, and she wants everything to do with this alleged SA report that happened. What would Ann Taylor want with an SA report? And the people that were involved, we need that report. We need anything and everything to do with that report from an SA. I mean, that's pretty interesting that she'd want something like that. Why is anybody talking about that? Why is anybody talking about in the 167 pages that was put out? Nobody wants to highlight the fact that Ann Taylor was asking for a report and an incident report that had to do with SA. I believe it's called the Spillman Report, and she wants it from MPD. And you guys can look up what that means. Okay? What Ann Taylor is going after, in my opinion, is everything to do with these victims and also the surviving roommates of encounters that they've ever had at the university. Okay? I don't believe that anybody would flush anything. That's not what I believe happened at all. When you don't call the police for 3 hours, okay, that doesn't take 3 hours to flush things. If you're moving something, it's going to take time. If you're waiting for somebody to come there to get their shit and to take it somewhere else. But if the cell phones come back, that would have the Snapchat information, and there's messages on there about what happened at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's 3 hours. That's 3 hours. This isn't someone waking up at 11:30, then finally getting out of bed and going to the bathroom, or that's not what this is then. Again, how are you going to be able to explain that? You're going to have to say why you didn't call the police, okay, when you woke up in the morning. Because I was all fine with kids going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and then not waking up until 11 or 12. That's normal to me when you go to bed at 4 a.m. All right? That's normal. But to find out that if there's text messages out there, or in the form of Snapchat messages, however you want to say it, if there's messages out there, they would have had to generate. The only way that's possible, okay, is from somebody that would have been inside that home to uncover the bodies. Okay. Again, think about this. Think about this if you're on the stand, if you're a juror, okay? If you're a juror and you hear that somebody started texting other people, okay, and 3 hours would go by before the police were called. What are you going to be okay with that? Is that not going to put pause in, to think to yourself, well, what's going on here? What are they afraid? And then they can testify that, hey, we were afraid because there was X, Y, and Z. Like, they're going to have to say something to make you as a juror, in my opinion, say, okay, that makes sense. We were scared. We didn't know what to do, but then think about this. Who is going to sit in a home for that long? Females that are scared. You're going to sit in that home. What if they come back to kill you? Like, you didn't have any fear that this person was going to come back to kill you? Especially once you put it out there that you're there at the house and I just texted somebody, or we made it, then what if the wrong person got that message? What if you don't know who the rat is, and they then messaged somebody and said, hey, you got some survivors in there. You need to get back over there. I mean, who is going to just sit? I know that everybody keeps talking about how bad it would have smelled and all that. Who is going to just stay in a house for 3 hours? People say, oh, they were cleaning up. Well, then I expected, was there going to be any puke places? Because I'd be puking my guts up. Okay. Okay. Anybody that mentions pregnant, I'm going to start just deleting your comments. Fuck it. I'll just block your ass. Guys, that is not what we're talking about. Okay. We're talking about, if you're on a jury, like, would that bother you? Would that bother you? Would all these cryptic Venmos, paying people for something that's going to happen at 3:30, would that bother you? Why were you paying somebody at 3:30 in the morning for something that you had, like, you're paying them prior to, for something that's going to take place at 3:30 a.m. just around the same time as what? The murders. from your narrative, Lana. No, this isn't a narrative. There's no narrative here. This is fact. This is fact. It is fact that the police were not called first. That is fact. Okay? So you froze up the night that it happened, and then you froze up when you woke up that you called your friends. Give me a fucking break. And if there's jury people out there that are going to be okay with that, then I pity America. I pity America. I pity the fool. You know, think about this. I'd be running out of that house so fast, okay? Like, getting in your car type of shit and getting the hell out of there. That type of shit. You know, Mr. G says, hey, I want to see these timestamps of these text messaging and or calls that took place of this alleged trying to reach out to Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, to like, and he says, well, that, you know, they didn't answer, and then that's probably what, you know, tipped them off that something was wrong because, you know, Kaylee always has her phone with her and, you know, yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking, what? Like, when did this happen? Because that's what the police are going with to say that that's how we knew that this happened before those messages went out. Or that those messages happen after the crime happened because they're asking them if they're okay. Like, you know, I've been watching these. You guys have been watching these trials lately, right? A lot of like, you know, like the Letitias of the world. Like, fuck, bitch, you are guilty as sin. Okay, you're crazy. You're guilty. You're sick. All right. Um, this case screams like WTF, and the parents scream WTF. When you have the parents behaving in the manner that the Gonsalveses did, that's what led me to continue on in certain ways. They wanted answers. They weren't getting answers. They weren't getting answers as soon as November 18th. But they were not the first people to speak to the media. Ethan's parents spoke to the media before anybody else spoke to the media, to include the police. The police did not speak to the media until November 16th. Ethan's parents spoke out to the media, and it was a local reporter, November 15th, and wanted to speak on Ethan and the rumors that were going around. And I remember watching that thinking, what love triangle? I have not heard anything about rumors of a love triangle, number one. And then number two, I've never heard anything of like about drugs. Like but hang on. But now you go back in time and you listen to actually what was going on around on campus. So these were rumors that they were trying to put to bed. Those were coming from the kids. Those were coming from the kids. Because that's everything that Dave was talking to me about and told you guys about the, you know, we thought it was, you know, it could have been an OD, that they got a bad batch, and, you know, you hear about it and you see about it, and then it was like going back and forth between, it was a stabbing, there was an OD, then it was back to a stabbing and shooting. We're talking about a kid that called off of work at 9:30 in the morning. And I talked to him over the weekend, this past weekend, and I said, hey, I got to ask you some questions. And, you know, hey, were you guys looking out the windows? Were you guys doing anything? Did people go over there? No, we were all in the president's like room. We were just like, just in awe, waiting to hear more stuff, like waiting to hear more things. She obviously knew. She texted the victims to see if they were okay per relative. She knew. But texting somebody to see if they're okay is not indicative of, like, that's her version, like, for this timeline. But for me, if I'm Ann Taylor or anybody that would be the defense, you're going to say, are you sure that you didn't text them? Are you okay because of all the noise that was going on? You didn't text them to, hey, can you keep it down? How can you go from, I want to know the noises. Was there music playing? Because they always had music blaring over there. Was there music playing? Because the house would have went completely silent. The house went completely silent. It would have been from what you would consider a bunch of noise to boom, silence, nothing. And it would have been boom, silence, nothing after seeing the guy in the mask clad in black. And if you go and you look up the September 12th, 2022 report of the guy in Paradise, whatever, Creek or whatever the fuck it's called, Paradise. The report is that he was clad in all black. The guy with the knife was clad in black. Isn't that wild? September 12th, clad in black. The Paradise. That, a guy was threatening with a knife, clad in black. Well, you don't think Ann Taylor's going to be all over who's this person, because there's a report of it. Then they were able to find the person. And so who was that person? But again, same thing, clad in all black. Go read the report. Clad in all black. Showing a knife. To me, that's just wow. To me, that's wow. I don't know, Ann, if good old Payne wrote that report or not. People are asking themselves, is the state going to go for the death penalty? There are reasons that are strategic not to go for the death penalty because it's going to be, you're going to be able to convict easier if you don't, in my opinion. But it should be very telling that you're going to ask. I would ask Payne and Blaker and whoever else made the decision. You didn't use. Did you do a logic extraction of the data from all the cell phones? Okay, and what that means is you pull all the cell phones information, and then you plot them all on the same timeline. Okay, and that's what's called a logical extraction. But they're allowed to leave stuff out. So Anne would want to have her own person be doing a logical extraction of the data because what they may have left out might be important for you. And that's not that you just have to have somebody go and do that. But they're going to give you all the data, but then you plot it. So the police from MPD, or if they use the FBI for that, or whoever did the extraction of the data and they did a logical extraction, that means that then they pinpointed, here's the narrative, and they can just plot what they want on this timeline. Okay, but you have to have somebody that's going to take the time. If you want to rebut that, you're going to need somebody that's going to take all those cell phones and do the same thing. And you're going to want to add in what parts you want to show. Okay, but what about this, or what about that? But for them to only use the surviving witnesses' cell phones, as well as just Dylan's statements, not Bethany's, to place that 404, or they said from 4 to 425 or 420 timeline of when the deaths occurred. This is when the homicides happened. And they told us in the PCA. So there's things that you need to take from the PCA that they have to stick to that. That's how they got him arrested. So if Kaylee and Maddie did not use their phones, was it because they died? Was it because they were dead? Was it because they went to sleep? But they stopped using their phones before 3 o'clock. And if they both stopped at the same time and they weren't dead, if I'm a juror, you're going to have I'm going to wonder why they stopped using their phones. If they were just using them, calling, and then all of a sudden, boom, nothing. Also, I would love to know if Dylan if she heard, upstairs. Don't you think it would be important for the jury to be in that bedroom and to hear what it sounds like when somebody goes up the stairs and down the stairs? And then when they are walking and in what rooms they would be walking in? Like, where is Kaylee's room? Okay, that's going to be right over Dylan's room, okay? Versus where Maddie's room is, right? But if you're a juror, you want to be in that home to hear what it sounds like. Okay? And I just can't even believe that anybody's going to sit there and say they're going to demolish that home. Like, if you're Ann Taylor, or even if you're the prosecution, you should want the jurors to hear what it sounds like so that everything that they're going to be testifying to when you go to that was a big part of the Murdoch case, going to the residence and seeing everything for those jurors. Nobody can ever say they want to go into that house. I would be like, listen, blindfold me and put me, because I don't need to see anything and I just want to hear. But you wreck that house, it's gone. Like, you're not getting that back. Unless they did testings like that. Unless they had recorders in that house or something like that when they did, I have no idea what technology they could be. But, and then I want to talk a little bit about Brian and the apartment search, okay? Why would Brian leave a laptop, a super expensive laptop, just chilling if he wasn't planning on returning? Why would he leave a laptop? Why would he leave anything if he was not planning on returning? Think about it. You're going to sit here and tell me that I'm in college and I'm going to leave my apartment for however many weeks upon weeks, and I'm going to leave, what am I, okay, yeah, the clothes, even though you bring a bunch of clothes always with you because you're washing your shit at your parents, but think about that. Think about what you would. You're not going to leave your laptop. You're going to leave an expensive ass laptop. I know that I would not. Okay. Now think about this. If you committed a bunch of crimes, you're going to leave your laptop, keep the phone that you've always had, and unless it was in a hurry, there's nothing that's in a hurry here, though. We're talking about your dad flies in. I mean, there's nothing in a hurry. Why would you leave your laptop if you got fired and you're planning on fleeing and you're not going to return, even though it's not what they put in the PCA? He's planning on coming back, you know. So why would he leave a laptop? Think about this. Why would you leave a laptop? I don't care whose laptop it would have been. No, do I think that it was WSJ's laptop? But unless they gave him one for TAing, which you can maybe go on and check that out and see if they did, and that would be used for maybe submitting grades, but that still doesn't make sense. I think that you just log into that big computer tower. Yeah, all this stuff that was supposedly in this house, right, or in this apartment, right, that you're gonna leave behind. Okay, remember the little footage that we did get, and they said it's sparse in there. Okay, but there is, like, you know, Blaker went off. Oh, there was like when he heard about that, there was like a laptop / computer. Okay, why would you leave that? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Somebody that's trying to hide a bunch of shit, right? There's nothing on it. I didn't use it. But I'm talking about if this person is not planning on returning back to school, which I see zero evidence of that, but because of all the stuff that was in there, if you're not planning on returning, then all of your shit, you're taking it, right? Now, could it have been somebody else's that he left? Who's to say it was his? Also, another thing I want you guys to think about. They knew that Brian was not there. They said that they had reason to believe that he went to Pennsylvania to be with his family for the holidays, right? Okay. Why not just serve search warrants for his apartment and even his parents' house and the car? Why serve an arrest warrant at the same time? They went into that house. They went into that apartment. He wasn't there. They still searched it, right? Okay. So why not do that? Why not try to obtain a search warrant to get into that house or to get into that apartment? Because how you were able to do that, you did it without having the DNA on the sheath because they didn't use it. So why not just do that at, let's say December 20th? You don't have to, so let's just, hey, we're going to go there, get what we can. We have the search warrant. He's not there. We can still go in, we can leave that, that there, and we are searching and taking whatever it is that we're allowed to take, and then we start, seeing what we can get from it, right? Same thing with if you want to, if Brian's planning on coming back, all right, when did school resume? When did school resume? I'm just trying to talk things through to you guys, and in terms of like, okay, he's in Pennsylvania, but he's planning on coming back. He's got to be back here. This is when it starts. If you believe he's returning when he came back to kill again. No, you have all eyes on him. If you want this to just be that we're dealing with the jurisdiction of Washington and Idaho, he gets back and, he's arrested as soon as he gets back, or we serve a search warrant on his vehicle, or do we still just serve the search warrant on his vehicle there? I mean, this ended up being like a big, they waited depending on when they put him on his radar, but if they were following him across the country, he was pulled over twice in Indiana. So, to heat up with the shooting on WSU's campus with Brett Kapaka. When you want to talk about a timeline of when things were starting to heat up for, this white Elantra gets introduced to the public on December 1 week before the shooting of Brent Kapaka. They're putting together this, circumstantial case that's following these white Elantras, allegedly. And a white Elantra that is literally hitting the same camera, almost literally in the same spot, 8 minutes apart from each other. Like, how is that possible? How did he only travel like a couple hundred yards? Why have we never seen the still image of the white Elantra in the immediate vicinity of the King Road? Why have we never seen that footage? Because I think America and the rest of the world would shred it apart that it wasn't a white Elantra. Is that possible? Is it also possible that if that gets seen all around and there's doubt that's put into the mind of the potential jurors that that's not the vehicle because everybody is talking about it, okay? Who does that hurt? That hurts the prosecution to put out that still image. Because you have a bunch of people that are going to dissect the shit out of that to the point that potential jurors are going to see that, right? And we don't want potential jurors to see this or all of the discussions surrounding this, right? So we can't put that out. We're only going to show that once trial hits. And we just have to convince 12 people that that's the same vehicle that we're going to show on the WSU cameras. And people should ask this, like, whose decision was it to put out two stock images of a 2011 and a 2013? And if you look at that Honda, that people believe that it's a Honda that's parked in that lot of the coffee house apartments, okay? But you need to look at the fact, I didn't care what type of car it was. It's similar, right? It has no front license plate. And it's literally parked right in the vicinity where Brian's, this 8 minutes is just like, how is he in the same area for 8 minutes? Did he drive over somewhere and then end up getting in somebody else's car to then drive? But the way that the front part of that vehicle looks, it's got the square, not the L-shaped fog lights, but it's the square type. That's the part of the vehicle that looks like a 2011, 2013 Elantra, those bottom fog lights. Remember when Kaylee's parents said in the interview with Chronicles with Olivia that at the corner club that night, the surveillance that came back, they were questioning the timestamp of that, okay? They were questioning the timestamp because it said 1:30. And they thought that that wasn't accurate. And then her mom made some mention about how it was daylight savings and it was the weekend before, okay? And that maybe they didn't change the cameras. So that would be that it was, if you think about it, daylight savings, you fall back, all right? And they didn't push it back, right? Spring forward, fall back. So that would have been 12:30. All right, 12:30. And but where are they getting the information that leads them to believe that that was off, that that camera timestamp was off? Okay, this is very, very important because they made a big deal about it. That timestamp is not accurate. All right, and normally, like, are we talking? And then she mentions the daylight savings, which would be like a whole hour. We're not talking about a couple minutes. We're talking about a whole hour. All right. So, think about this. So if that was at 12:30, and also in that interview, that was not their only stop there that night. Remember, they wanted to go to a different place, and Jack D didn't. He was tired because he had worked all day. All right. And so if that was at 12:30, are they saying that because Jack D was like, I wasn't there till 1:30 though. I left early. I left at this time, and he gives his time and he's showing, something that would help that cause. And so he's like, I wasn't there at 1:30. Like, or is that even me? Like, but I wasn't there at 1:30 because I'd already left, which now makes a little bit of sense. So think about this. If that was either at 12:30 and not 1:30, all right, so that means that he would have left and they were still in there because they're walking from the corner club. Is that where they walked? So we need to see, if we go back and we check out that video of where they're walking, all right, are they walking from the corner club, or did they go somewhere and walk from that place? Because there's no way that you can ask at 1:30 if you're Kaylee and Maddie, hey, we want to go to another place, but Jack D didn't. At 1:30, I mean, everything's closing. And we know that they were at the grub truck at what was it? 1:40? And then they were home at 1:56. All right. So if they wanted to go somewhere else and he didn't, because he was tired and then he went home, did they go? Are we missing an hour of where they went and what they did? That camera footage of them walking with Jack Showalter, is that really, where is that? Pinpoint that on the map, and then pinpoint where Corner Club is, and then pinpoint where the grab truck was, and see if that's the way that you would have walked. Okay. But I think it's really, really important to talk about why they believe that timestamp's off. And really, what does that mean then? Are we talking about just a couple minutes? Or are we talking about, like how Christy said, it was daylight savings, and did they not just change their clocks because of that? Because also, if Jack D didn't want to go somewhere because he was tired, and they did, was he driving that night? Could he have just dropped them off at the next place that they were going to? I don't know. But it was interesting to play that back and listen to that, because remember, when this all happened, Olivia and the family, I don't know if they just didn't want to talk about it, but it was really a surprise. The family said that was not Jack D, if you remember. They were like, when that came out, when that still image came out, it was that it was that it wasn't Jack D. I don't know if you guys recall that. So if you guys remember that it was like a big, like, the family didn't believe that it was him, or was it just came out in a really weird way. You'd have to go back and check that out. And the thing that people want to talk about with that phone call with Jack D the next day is if Jack D was sleeping, because I believe that those phone calls happened before 1 or 1:30. It was like when the Snapchat was happening. So that's why I believe that Jack D wasn't answering the phone calls, because it was early in the morning. But a lot of things for you guys to think about. These will all be huge talking points this week on truth and transparency. But narrowing the timeline down, and how did Olivia get the Ring camera footage to see that her sister and Maddie, her two sisters, as she says, came home at 1:56. They were at home at 1:56. And then at 2 o'clock, there's the alleged girl that's blonde running from the house, seen on the tripod camera. Okay. But getting home at 1:56, she was able to go through this Ring camera and see that they got out of the vehicle and the car drove away. Okay. Well, if I'm Olivia, I'm asking this person to send me, like, we need to see who was coming and going from that house, who was obviously there beforehand that they could have walked into, or who, was there afterwards, who was coming there afterwards. But how did she get this? How did Olivia get the Ring camera footage? Does Olivia have footage of the white Elantra? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Those of you guys that are waking up, stretching those arms, getting things working for your lovely work week. It's summertime. You guys, it's... how would she get that? You'd get it from the neighbor. You call and you'd say, hey, I'm so-and-so, right? I was told that you guys have... I mean, because remember, it's the girls that all live there. Remember, they left. Their parents were like, get home. And the last girl was recorded. She was interviewed, and she was the last one leaving. She said, she's like, I'm the last one here. My mom's like, when are you going to be here? When are you going to be here? When are you going to be here? So you can't just go knocking on a door, okay, to get camera footage from people, all right, that aren't there to provide it because they're like not in town. So, but there is a way that you can just go into your app. And so all the roommates would have had control over this. All right. All the roommates would have had the ability to go in and look at the app and look at the past footage that they had. And then you could send those forward. You could forward those to people in like text messages, and they can see each little clip. Okay. But this is such a high profile case. My question then is, does law enforcement get that from them so early on that they take, is there any hardware with that? Do they just ask them for their password, okay, so that they can go in and then look at it, and while they're doing the whole search warrant thing to come back and things like that? Like, what did they do? And did law enforcement say, we're going to go ahead and change your password, we have to keep everybody out of this, like this can't be shared? How do you go about that? What's protocol in that? Can the cops say you're not allowed to, give this out? Would the cops say, have you given this out to anybody? Who's come and asked for it? Have you deleted anything? What's on that Ring camera footage? I mean, we're talking about this camera was able to pick up every time that the white Elantra allegedly passed by, 4 times beginning at 3:29. All right, you're able to get this. And then how long are those clips? Okay, what did these girls have their ring set up as? Um, the girls were not at that grub truck long. They truly weren't. So, but when Olivia said that she was able to get she was able to get the camera. Go listen to that interview when she talks about how she was able to determine what time they got home. And she was going through the Ring camera footage of the neighbors to get everything. And then, okay, yep, there they are. They get out. They go, into, well, they see that the car pulls away after dropping them off. But my question is, how did you get the camera footage? and how much footage. Like, you just wouldn't want what time they came home, guys. That's not the most important part of it. Once you see that they're okay, this is when they're home, then you're looking for what? And the authorities wanted all the camera footage beginning at 5 p.m. that night. They wanted camera footage from that area beginning at 5 p.m. Now, that's interesting to me. It's very interesting that that's a time frame that they picked to start having. When they were putting up these little flyers on everybody's door, they were like, look at your camera footage between 5 p.m., and so I guess my next question is going to be is, you're telling these people to look at their camera footage. Why aren't you just going and getting search warrants for them? Because people left. You're putting stuff on doors of people that aren't even home. I think it'd be easy to get before law enforcement got. All you would have to do, okay, I went to an area where this happened to my friend, not this type of situation. I went and asked all these people that live there, can I see your ring footage from this time to this time? What do you have on this? Like, what do they do? They sent me all these clips. Okay. If I probably would have asked, hey, can I have your password to get in? Because like, this is taking too long, or, we're getting duplicate. It's just too hard. Like, I just need to be able to record it. Let me put it through my, editor, blah, blah, blah. If I would have asked that, I know, and I believe that they would have given it to me. Okay. But they just were able to send me through text messages these clips of everything that I was asking for. Hey, can you go to this timestamp? This, whatever. So anybody's saying that you would have to hack in. No way. You don't need to do that. And they're all friends with each other, okay? So when you hear that it's Kaylee's sister that's reaching out, you're going to give her whatever, right? I know I would. Yeah, here you go. Here, I'll give you my password, download the stuff, and then I'm going to change my password within, an hour. Something like that. If it would just be too much to, like, do all that. But she was going through everything. And so that just leads me to believe that you would have way more than just them getting, like, you're going to have, a bunch of clips. But for them to have this whole 329 to 420, and then I just have to reiterate the fact that the Ring camera doesn't pick up everything all the time. So, and there was more than just one person with cameras over there. There was people across the street and right next to the house. So, it is an open still investigation into the Brett Kapaka. It's ruled a homicide. I've listened to the audio. I think that the audio is fucking wild. Completely wild. I have nothing that has Brent ever living at the coffee house apartments. I have him in like 36 other addresses. Can't pinpoint him there ever. I thought it was interesting that they wouldn't know Brent's last name. When you're listening to the stuff, how does the person not know, if you live with somebody, what their last name is? I think it was incorrectly stated that when this went to the media to say that, like, he lived there and he was threatening his roommates. I don't believe that I question all of that. How would you not know the last name of your roommate? That does not make any sense. And everybody that's thinking that there were girls that were living there, okay, there is not one report of a girl, okay? It's a male. It's a male that her partner is talking to, okay? And it's either George or Jordan. But how quickly that this all got shut down, that could this be related to the 1122 like does this have anything to do with that? No, this is not related. Well, but you guys think about it, they can just tell us whatever, just like they did, just like the surviving roommates slept on the first floor. Well, according to the PCA, they didn't. One of them did not. So anything that was said in those press conferences, you could just take a match and light them all up in flames. But you really want to look at the victims, and to me, as a freshman, I found out that you can live in the sorority houses or the fraternity houses. You don't have to wait till your sophomore year. And that's why a lot of people go Greek on the University of Idaho's campus, because you don't have to live in the dorms. So that changes things, you know. So did Bethany and Dylan live in the sorority houses their freshman year? And I believe they did. And then their sophomore year, to be moving off campus, you know, they did the whole sorority house their freshman year. But what I don't see, or what I have a hard time seeing, is that you would live with somebody but only plan to live with them for, you know, even if you were graduating early, even if you were going to be done in after December, okay, you would still stay, you know, and you would go all the way until, you know, the summer, and then go boom, 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 go off to Austin or whatever. But something happened, in my opinion. Something changed all of that. I don't think that was the original plan. Okay. I don't. What else was it? Something else with the Kaylee was in a completely different house, a sorority house. Okay, so she was always with other people. All right, Maddie and everybody else, they were all Pi Phis except for Kaylee. And so whoever, like the Pi Phis, you know, that was the house that Maddie lived in with those Pi Phis ahead, like beforehand. I went and checked everybody's social medias, and yes, the Emma Baileys, they were following the people that used to live there, a couple of them. You know, Maddie's, her roommate Ruby, she was a criminology major. Okay, Ruby Simpson, criminology major. I mean, is everybody going over here going crazy about, oh my God, Ruby Simpson was a criminology major? Like, no, I haven't heard one person fucking talk about it. But there you go, Ruby Simpson, criminology major. Kendra, Ashlyn, literally following and friends with Emma Bailey. Molly Gray on the same night, or the same day. sets a Venmo payment, and it's titled for 3:30 a.m. So it was like made on November 12th at like 2:48 p.m. and it said 3:30, and so she paid a Venmo transaction on November 12th at 2:48 p.m. and it was for 3:30 a.m. I mean, what are the fucking odds that when you have to just look at all this? She breaks up that Kaylee breaks up with Jack D 3 weeks earlier. Okay, Kaylee gets a new car. Kaylee moves out. Molly Gray Venmo at 3:30. All these girls just recently buy stuff for the house, Venmoing each other. You know, everybody has their certain things that they have to pay. There were so many moving parts. So many moving parts. So many things had happened and happening right before this happens. Then you look at where was everybody that night? Where were the surviving roommates that night? The two people that survived, there was like no talks about anywhere that they were that night. The two people that survived were in bedrooms by themselves. The 4 people that died were in a bedroom with another person. A person that goes into that home went in when everybody was just boom, had gotten in separate areas. Everyone was home by 2. Where does that come from? How would you know, it has to come from one of the surviving roommates to say that everybody was in their bedrooms by 4. And then to say that, does that mean that Kaylee and Maddie were actually not in the same bedroom? What was truly in Kaylee's bedroom? If she had moved out, then why is all of her shit still in her room? Everybody says that everybody had jobs. Okay, where did Dylan work? Where did Bethany work? Where was Kaylee working at the time? Because she had moved. Was she? I mean, you guys, you still have classes and finals that go all the way till December. So how is Kaylee attending those from an hour and 40 minutes away if she had moved? Like, none of this makes any sense. Were all these kids taking online classes but just living on campus? Nobody knew Brian. Yep, nobody's come forward to say anything about Brian. In fact, it's the opposite. Nobody's ever seen the guy. Where did Ethan work? Where did Xana work? Where did Maddie work? How are these people being able to keep these jobs and they're traveling all the time on the weekends? Normally college kids, I mean, you're forced to work on the weekends. did he work at Hunga Bunga Brewery? Hunga Bunga Brewery is right behind the coffee place that Kaylee, worked at. What type of car payment was Kaylee looking at per month? Because she didn't just buy that with cash. That's not what happened. Well, Melissa, that's actually what I'm doing right now. Where you said I'm taking bits and pieces. 100. And I was able to see it firsthand in another case that if somebody tells me something, okay, and I repeat that, but here it's not true. So if I'm talking to, let's say, we'll go with, hey, me and Kara, I was talking to this girl, Kara, right here, and we're friends. And I'm like, hey, girl, what do you got planned this weekend? What's up? Oh, me and Bobby, we're going to go to Riggins and we're going to just go camping and we're just getting away for the weekend. Oh, okay. Well, have fun. Cops come knocking. Hey, have you heard from your friend Kara? What do you mean? Well, no one's heard from her. Oh, well, her and Bobby were going to Riggins. They were going to go camping for the weekend. What do you mean no one's heard from her? Well, yeah, they did a wellness check. It's now Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, she said she was going to be back on Monday. Okay. Well, I'm just repeating what Kara told me. Okay, I'm not lying. All right. But here, let's say Kara tells me this, because her boyfriend's Bobby, right? And then I come to find out that Bobby worked all weekend and he was on campus working at the bar that he works at. All right. I didn't lie. I just repeated what Kara told me. Well, here, Kara wanted to tell me that, so I didn't find out that she was cheating on her boyfriend. Okay. But here, Kara's missing. All right. I didn't lie. I just repeated something that was told to me by Kara. So actually, Kara lied to me. All right. I'm not lying. So detectives would have to sort all this type of shit out. So can you interview somebody and them tell you something and then you sit back down with them and them say, okay, Lana, get back over here. We need to talk. Yeah, what's up? Why would you tell me that Kara told you that she was going to Riggins with Bobby? Well, that's what she told me. Well, you didn't see Bobby working at the bar? I didn't go out this weekend, but I actually just heard about that he was from my other friends. And actually I saw pictures because they were all taking pictures and he was in it. So yeah, I found out. Okay, so what did Kara really tell you? That's what she told me. I'm not lying, right? But I'd be like, well, then Kara clearly lied to me. Well, why would she lie to you? Well, I don't know, because she didn't want me to know that she was cheating, maybe. I don't know. Why would she go to Riggins by herself? She didn't go there by herself. She clearly went there with somebody. So that's what like cops would have to like sit down and sort out with when you interview somebody, or you want to say interrogate somebody. So could my story then change, or like, no, I'd be re-interviewed to ask, okay, anything else? When did she say she was leaving? Did she say she was driving or that Bobby would be driving? Then you're going to have to ask me a bunch of questions to see if we can get to sort out her but I didn't lie. She lied to me, but it would make it seem like I lied. What's up? Yes, I can see your messages. So anyways, these are all things though that you'd have to sort out, because I believe a lot of this shit would be going on with this case. I'm not going to tell you who I'm getting, if I'm buying drugs or if I'm buying, however you want to say it. they would tell you, you're not going to say my name. So say, you're getting it from Betty White. Betty White's the code nickname when you want the white stuff, let's say. Well, I don't know. They told me that they were getting it from Betty White. I don't know who Betty White is. I never asked, but yeah. And then we would all throw down to get some powder. Whatever. Anyways, this is what the cops would be up against. This is why, for me, it would take a very long time, in my opinion, to sort through all of this, because you're not dealing with just one victim, you're dealing with 4. And that was the gripe with what Kaylee's parents were saying. Like, this is going to take an army. This is going to take everybody involved. Get your pens and papers out. This is going to take people, like, working together. This is not a one-man job. Okay? We're going to stomp you out. That's all of that in that interview. Take notes, grab a piece of paper, pen, do all that stuff. But here, what's different about so many other cases is that this happened in a home. Like, these people weren't found dead in a different location. They were found dead in their home. This, when they say that it's a crime of opportunity, this isn't somebody that just came across them camping somewhere and then they just met the wrong person that night and then then they were killed by that person in a campsite. We're talking about 4 people in their home where they live. And so is that why it's a targeted attack? Because they went into their home. They knew where these people lived, meaning the 4 victims. I just think it's really hard to say if this was an isolated, targeted attack. And then you arrest somebody like somebody that everyone deems as in the making of a serial killer, possibly killed before. Yada yada yada. He fits your profile that the FBI would have gave. Scott Roeder's shit gave the same profile back in December 15th, December 13th, something like that. And so if you have camera footage of Ring camera and you have all this going on, people coming and going, and then you have people over in the morning, and you have all this footage, and they can go back like 6 months. Like, here, let's go through it. Let's see if we can find Brian. Stop, driving past this house on a different occasion. Isn't that what you would do? You'd task people like, here, we're going to go through this footage and see if we can find Brian. When his cell phone is pinging in the area, we need to go through this camera footage to see if we can see his vehicle. And they didn't put that in the PCA that they had that. Does that mean that they don't? No, but they didn't put it. So, but you would go through all of that because we gotta be able to find this guy who's been stalking them out, like they said, on these 12 different occasions. We got to have his car there. We should be able to get that from that Ring camera of one of those cameras over there. And then you're going to look at the 12 times it pinged. You're going to go to that, and you're going to go through that footage because it's there. They have that footage, and if they don't, I don't buy it. So you have all these other people coming and going and being seen on camera at different points, from June till November 13th. And not one time, you have all these people saying that, oh, that he would have been in the house before, he knew the layout, right? He never went to Dylan's room. How did you know people were? It was because he's been in there. He knows everything. Well, how come there's going to be, I don't believe there's any ring camera footage of him being seen on anything. And would that bother you as a juror? And it would bother me as a juror. It would bother me. It would bother me that we'd have all this footage of all this other shit. But yet this guy was able to never be seen on a camera. That wouldn't bother you. Here you have, like, hey officer, you have Blaker up there, or you have Payne. You wrote down 12 times it pinged, right? Did you go get camera footage from the neighbor's Ring cameras? Did you look at those time periods and when he was pulled over, and were you able to, were any of these Ring camera footages able to produce my client in a vehicle there, or walking around there? Did you see him on anything? Do you have him on any cameras, period? And I'm curious to the answer of that. I don't know the answer of that, but that's going to be a question. Good morning. They had a private driver that night, and they had a private driver when they went out and when they came home. That's just the extent of it. So you have this Ring camera footage. If you're the defense, would you not play the different clips and pause it? Okay, because this is what I saw done in the Sheldon Jeter Jr. trial. You're going to play the clip and you're going to pause it, and then you're going to ask, okay, Officer, Payne, who are these people at 11:30? Whose vehicle just arrives? Whose vehicle arrives? Had 911 been called yet? No. Okay. Who are these people? Who are these people that are coming and going? Did you identify, like, whatever this Ring camera picks up from the moment of, I guess 5 p.m. on, like, pointing out different things? Were you able to identify who this person was? They're going to say yes or no. Okay, who? And when they're going to come with, no, we don't. The Banfield camera that caught the kids walking. Were you able to identify who those 4 kids were? Did you guys go over? Were you able to? Did someone come forward to say that was them? You have this car. So you're going through all of this, and you're going to ask them, did you identify this? Did you identify that? And you're going to hear a lot of no's. So you have footage of people that went in there, and you don't know who they are, or that they're right there in the vicinity. They're on that ring, like their car's there. Who does this belong to? The FBI is confident they have their man. They may have their man. I think it's going to be very interesting to hear the testimony of this FBI. When did you look at the King? When did they call you in to look at the King Road footage? What videos did you look at? Okay. You identify this as being a 2011, 2013 Y vehicle. Where are your notes? Where's your report? You're going to look at that. You're going to compare the report of this FBI agent to, okay, well, then they came back to you to ask you about the Ring camera footage. When did they come back to ask you about it? Could it be, later on? What is the date that they asked you that? Was it after they found out that Brian Kohlberger drove a white Elantra 2015? And are you aware that why are you saying that it would be a 2014 or 2016? A 2014 has a completely different it's a completely different frame in the front. And clearly you can see some of the front because you're able to say that there's not a front license plate, right? So I can't wait to see this image of the front license plate. And it should bother everybody. It should bother everybody why we never saw the actual stills. Because they're only going to come out in trial now. And this is stuff that could get suppressed to the public. The public should want to see those images. Because there's a fucking reason they went with stock photos instead of the actual images. And if you don't think there's a reason, then you're crazy. Then you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Because that does not make any sense to me. You want us to help, you want the public's help finding a vehicle that you have a picture of and you don't give it to the public? That doesn't make that makes no sense. And that makes no sense to ex-law enforcement. Okay? But what makes even more, it's nonsensical, is that an expert FBI who has the tools that they would have used and that they're trained to use would be able to point out certain things about a 2011 compared to a 2015 Elantra. And if I'm a nobody and studied for hours on this to show, holy shit, these are significant differences, to the point that there is no way, in my opinion, an expert is going to miss this unless the footage is that fucking bad. And the Elantra is everything to the state's case. You get, if there is doubt that is placed on any one of those jurors to think that that's not the car, it's the only way you have Brian Kohlberger getting there and leaving is that white Elantra. You leave it for nothing else that it could have been they parked somewhere else, okay? And they walked in from the back, off of Walenta. No. And I just think that that's a problem. That's something that would get you a conviction in 1980, 1970. With all the stuff that they have today, that's not going to get you a conviction in 2023, 2024, when I think that that's going to be blown up. You have the FBI guy identifying two different vehicles. He's going to have to say that he made a mistake, or how could it be that? Why was he able to then go back and say, yeah, okay, it could be this. It could be this. And you have to find out when and it's all going to come out, the dates. Those dates are so important. Was it after you saw the footage from WSU's campus? Was it after you saw the vehicle that Brian Kohlberger drove? And I believe the answer is going to be yes to both of those. I don't have proof, but why would they ever go back and ask this FBI guy, hey, are you sure you didn't make a mistake? Because he's going to have to. And so if you're Anne, you're getting an expert that is going to say, basically, there's no way that would have been made a mistake, or they need to say, no, that this vehicle is a 2011 or 2012 or 2013 because of X, Y, and Z. And you're going to have that person saying that. But the car is everything. That's what ties him to these crimes. You have no DNA inside the house other than on the sheath. That go back and read that PCA. You know what I found very, very telling is that when he says, I later noticed a tan leather sheath, that when viewing from the door, it's on Mogan's right side. Okay, when viewing from the door, it's on Maddie Mogan's right side. When viewing from the door, go back and look at her bedroom. And when you say viewing from, does that mean that you viewed it from the door? Or are you just using that to describe what side? To be descriptive of why you would even need that in there. How come there was no language to say, I went back and reviewed my body cam, just like they went and reviewed Noonan's body cam. And that's how they determined where the dog was. The dog was in Kaylee's room when they arrived. So none of these roommates, none of these people that came over, they didn't go upstairs. And so where is the sheath on any body cam? What I mean by this is that if you have the original people, the first responders, okay, and they walked in and they were in that house, right? If none of their body cams, okay, pick up this tan leather sheath, all right, how would you feel if you were a juror? What if Blaker and Blaker didn't even write in his thing that he went back and reviewed his body cam and saw it? He was later notified by ISP. So if there is no footage on anybody's body cam, and the first footage that we see is still pictures that they took of the crime scene, that means from the time that, think about this, 911 was called until ISP started taking pictures to possibly, if it was on the body, like, what are the time periods that anything like that could have been planted? This is what they did in the OJ case. And see, back in the OJ case, they didn't have body cam footage like this. But what they had was all the media footage. All the media that was out there, okay, that was recording. They were able to see that people were not wearing gloves, trampling over the crime scene. It was a fucking mess, all right? You know how much footage that all these people, all the media would have of all this stuff? Like what they just show you on TV to just use like their little clips or whatever. They have so much, like when we did our interview with NBC with Sheldon's mom, we rolled, that was like, I don't know, a 7 to 10 minute, like I think. We were there for a couple hours. There's so much other footage. What happens to that footage? Where is it stored? So, but I think go ahead and play this back. You have 2 hours worth of amazing, amazing topics. And I'll be live on Truth and Transparency to show you guys some video and clips and stills and stuff like that. So join me later. Until next time.